Hi everyone, have you ever wondered how love can become complicated because of an expectation, culture, and social status? This is exactly what happens in our chosen media case study, Crazy Rich Asians, a film directed by John M. Chu and based on Kevin Kwan's novel. The story follows Rachel Chu, an economics professor who travels to Singapore with her boyfriend, Nick Young, only to discover that he comes from one of the richest and most influential families in Asia. The film became popular for its glamour, humor, and strong Asian representation in Hollywood. We choose this film because it highlights gender and identity through Rachel's modern independence and Eleanor's traditional values. Now that we have introduced the film, let's move on to the next slide to explore how gender and identity are represented in Crazy Rich Asians.
Let's talk about Femininity in Crazy Rich Asians. What interesting in that movie, the movie doesn't give us just one type of woman. Instead, we see the three very different female characters. First, we have Rachel Chu. Rachel is smart, independent, and successful in her career. She believes that women should follow their dreams and make their own choices. According to Hevendia and the colleagues, Rachel represents female empowerment because she takes control of her own life. Then we have Eleanor Young. She's almost the opposite to the Rachels. Eleanor believes that family should always comes first, even before personal happiness. For her, a good woman should protect family tradition and make sacrifices for the people she loves. And then there's Astrid Leong. Honestly, Astrid looks like she has the perfect life. She is rich, beautiful, and admired by everyone, but behind all that luxury, she's struggling in her marriage. This shows us that money and beauty don't always bring the happiness. So these three women show us that femininity isn't one size fits all. The movie gives us different perspectives on what it means to be a woman in modern Asian society. So, moving on, let's look at masculinity and identity. When we think of a rich male character, we usually expect someone powerful and controlling, right? But Nick Young is actually different. He's caring, respectful, and always support Rachel. He listens to her and values her opinions instead of making decisions of her. But here's the catch. Nick also has a lot of pressure on him. As the future head of wealthy family, he expected to protect his family reputation and traditions. So the movie shows that men also have a social expectation to deal with. Now, let's talk about the identity. Rachel has unique identity because she's Chinese, but grew up in America. When she arrives in Singapore, she feels like she doesn't fully belong. Nick's family sees her as too Western, while Rachel simply wants to be herself. This creates one of the biggest conflicts in the movie. Rachel chooses independence and personal happiness, while Eleanor believes that family duty should come first. So overall, the film tells us that both masculinity and identity are shaped by culture, family, and society. And finally, let's evaluate the gender representation in Crazy Rich Asians. The movie does a great job of challenging some stereotypes. Rachel is educated, independent, and successful. Nick is caring, emotionally supportive, which is very different from the traditional image of masculinity. But at the same time, the movie doesn't completely break away from old ideas. Women are still judged by their family background, social status, and even whether they are right person to marry. Another point is that the movie mainly focuses on very rich and privileged Asians. It doesn't show much diversity in social class. So some researchers argue that representation is still limited. So is the movie progressive? Yes. Does it still have stereotypes? Also yes. That's why we can say that Crazy Rich Asian present a mix of modern and traditional views on gender and identity. It encourages change, but it also shows us that cultural expectations still play a big role in society. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Next, I will discuss two sociocultural forces shown in Crazy Rich Asians. The first is patriarchy and gender expectations. In the film, traditional family values strongly influence how women are expected to behave. For example, Rachel's independent and modern mindset conflicts with Eleanor belief that women should prioritize family responsibilities and traditions. This shows how gender expectations continue to shape women's identities. The second force is beauty standards and social status. Throughout the film, health, appearance, and luxury lifestyles are associated with prestige and acceptance. Rachel is often viewed differently because she does not come from the same wealthy background as Nick's family. This demonstrates how social class and beauty ideals can influence relationships and the way people are perceived. So overall, these social cultural forces reflect the tension between traditional Asian values and modern perspective, which is one of the central themes in the Crazy Rich Asians. Lastly, Crazy Rich Asians also demonstrates the influence of globalization and Western culture. This can be seen through the characters' luxurious lifestyles, international backgrounds, and modern values. However, the film also reveals a deep ideological divide between Western individualism and traditional Asian family values. Rachel values independence and personal achievement, while Nick's family places greater importance of family reputation and collective responsibility. As a result, this creates different sense of belonging and identity. Rachel is often viewed as an outsider because she does not fully fit the expectations of Nick's family and social circle. Furthermore, traditional expectations still pressure women to sacrifice their personal ambitions for the sake of family obligations. Overall, the film shows how globalization creates tensions between modern values and long-standing cultural tradition.
Regarding power and influence, the film normalized the transnational Western educated Asian elite who hold power by bridging both worlds. Conversely, it marginalized locally rooted Singaporeans and authentic local heritage, reducing them to background aesthetics. Ultimately, this benefits globalized capitalism by framing success through a Western-centric lens of luxury and education. Thank you, and now I pass it to Camelia.
Evaluation of social impact. Crazy Rich Asian shows both positive and negative social impact through empowerment, stereotyping, and silencing. This movie empowers Asians by featuring strong Asian characters like Rachel Chu, who is smart and independent. However, it also reinforces stereotype because characters are judged based on wealth and social status. Last but not least, the film silences working class communities in Singapore by mainly focusing on rich and luxurious lifestyle. The movie influenced audience by connecting success with wealth, Western education, and luxury lifestyle, and this may shape how people view Asian identity and success. On a social level, the film promotes materialistic values by showing money and status as a symbol of power, and it also highlights the conflict between modern freedom and traditional family expectation in Asian society.